federal government is recommitting support for Bearskin Lake First Nation as it deals with a severe COVID-19 outbreak.
We're continuing to coordinate supports to meet the ongoing needs of the community. And I would say everyone's focus remains on the health and safety of the residents of Bearskin Lake as people increasingly recover.
Despite that, residents are not happy with the government's response to their request for assistance. So far, Ottawa has deployed 6 Canadian Rangers to help out on the ground. Charles Fox is a former Nishnawbe Aski First Nation Grand Chief and a Bearskin Lake First Nation member. He is one of the people coordinating the response to the outbreak, and Mr. Fox is in Thunder Bay, Ontario. Charles Fox, thank you for joining us.
Yes, good afternoon, sir.
I'm wondering if you can give us a sense of what the situation is like in Bearskin Lake right now.
The situation is tense. You have people that are recovering from the variant, and you have people that weren't touched by the variant. So there's a bit of tension with the people who are recovering being reintegrated back into the community. It's a mental health issue, and it's a mental health challenge that the leadership will have to take on.
What about, sir, on the situation on the ground in terms of the level of support the community has been able to get from the federal government? I know you've expressed some frustration, others have expressed some frustration. There are rangers and public health officials there. How is that going? What have they been able to do? And is it sufficient right now for Bearskin Lake?
In terms of passing grades, I have to acknowledge the Sulakot First Nations Health Authority. They've been very good in terms of case and contact management right from day one. The hard work that's been put forward by our technicians at the community level to conduct the PCR testing has been exemplary. I believe that they conducted well over 660 tests. And that in itself, when you look at the reports that have been generated by their incident command manager, Dr. Douglas, has from my perspective, provided passing grades for us in that they respond with medical personnel. And they get nurses from the tribal councils, as well as Sulakot First Nations Health Authority and Indigenous Services Canada to fulfill the nursing requirements at the community level. In terms of other requirements, that's where it's seriously lacking. When you hear the minister saying that they've committed $1.1 million to the crisis in Bearskin Lake, I don't think we've seen a penny of that yet at the tribal council level or at the community level. So how does one look at that? You have to fast track those dollars. You need that help on the ground right from the day the state of emergency is declared, and right from the day you need those resources and to effectively address the crisis at hand. To this day, 2 weeks later, I don't know if it's 2 weeks, but it's around that time, we haven't seen any of that financial aid.
What about the Rangers?
When you're talking about military personnel, they've responded with 3 Rangers, and they've been saying that they would like to have that contingent complemented by the local Rangers in the community, and they're recovering from COVID-19. So if all 4 Rangers agree to work with the 3, then you would have 7. But as of this day, as of this moment, there's only 3 Rangers on the ground. So you don't have any military or army personnel that have been deployed to respond to the First Nations cry for help in terms of military deployment.
But sir, we were told that the Rangers would be there to do things like chop wood for the wood stoves, I guess, of the people who are isolating and need wood, and to draw water and do supply. Did that work not get done? Did people go without heat in their home, or were the Rangers who were there able to keep up with that demand?
That particular aspect of work was addressed by people that went in there. There was a plane load of woodcutters from Bearskin Lake residents who live off reserve from Thunder Bay. They went in there and cut some wood. You have the non-governmental organizations like Rubicon, who deployed personnel to assist with that. I don't know what the Rangers are doing. I can't attest to what their deployment has been. I've heard some reports about the work that they are doing, whether it's addressing certain aspects or lacking, not being able to address. I've heard different reports.
So are there significant needs, though, in Bearskin Lake at this moment that are not being met? Like, is there a significant gap in the response that needs to be filled right now?
The gaps are still there. For one thing, wood cutting. When you look at the fact that you have 120 households and you got 90% of them that use stoves and wood for heating, you're looking at close to 100 homes. And the wood goes fast. If you were to look at a cord per home, that's what you'd be looking at, is to harvest close to 100 cords. And that's a lot of wood. I don't know if you're familiar with cords.
Yep.
And what's required to fulfill that. You don't have the personnel on the ground to do that. You do the best that you can with what you have. You don't have the vehicles to haul it. That's one of the other things that we identified, was that gap in terms of transportation. We need vehicles to transport wood. We need vehicles to transport the supplies, the hampers that have to be distributed to the 120 households. We need vehicles to go to the airport, to do the freight handling, to bring the supplies to the distribution center. So there are no vehicles. I think at the very most, we were successful in taking 2 trucks, and the vehicles on the ground, I believe, at the community level, we had about half a dozen that were working, and then they ran into mechanical problems, and they depleted that particular source to about 3. So we were trying to get a mechanic up there to deal with that particular issue.
Okay. Well, Charles Fox, good luck with the rest of it. I hope things improve quickly, and thank you for taking the time to speak with us.
Well, thank you for giving me the time. Can I just make one comment further before we finish?
Sure thing.
Yeah, the thing, I think there's lessons to be learned from this whole crisis that the First Nation has run into, in that the parties that have been participating in all these calls are not prepared in terms of dealing with the emergency. When you look at Canada and forces that should be working on preparedness for emergency, it's not there. The fact that the funding has been committed, but there's no flow of funding, the fact that personnel are required on the ground and there's no personnel, the lack of response is very seriously underfunded and undermanned. And when you look at the provincial government and their response, it's inadequate as well. And I think there's lessons learned from this whole experience that all parties should be looking at, including the First Nation and including the Tribal Council and all the First Nation organizations that are neighbors that are working together on common issues. We have to come up with better emergency plans and preparedness to respond to crises like the ones that we were encountering with Bearskin Lake. And I dare say that with the Omicron virus and its spread across the country, I'm sure that First Nations in other parts of the country will run into situations like we have run into in Bearskin Lake.
Okay, Charles Fox, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.